Morning, my wonderful people. Happy Thursday. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. What do we want to talk about today? It's Cody. I don't want to do that. Let's do a mixed bag. But last night, I gotta say, I'll start off the show by saying I watched AEW Dynamite last night with my son, and I gotta say one thing. Truth be told, they got one thing better than WWE. The commercials were better. I know that's crazy, but the commercials were actually better than Raw. I mean, that's it. I did enjoy one segment they did have with Dustin Rhodes and MJF. That was probably the highlight of my evening. It kind of took me back in time to when, before the Monday Night Wars, and even during, sort of, how the guys up north, WWE, wouldn't necessarily mention the guys down south, WCW. And then when it was referred to, that's how they were referred to. And that's how you knew who they were talking about. Without saying the company's name, they would just say the boys up north, the boys down south. And especially the boys up north, because WWE never mentioned WCW until DX started doing their invasion and, you know, making that a thing. You never heard WWF or WWE bring up WCW. It just wasn't a thing. Whereas WCW brought up the boys up north all the time, and they were constantly going at them and throwing jabs at Vince and whoever else they could take. They were constantly doing that. That was a thing. And but WWE hardly ever mentioned WCW because they were a little brother and they weren't gonna say their name. They didn't have to. You know, they were the big dogs. It wasn't until ratings got close and Bischoff started making his mark and NWO was going on, and that 83 weeks started or got close to right before the 83 weeks. Did you hear WWE bring up anything? Jim Cornette used to do a segment on Raw years ago in the early NWO days, and that was really the only time you ever heard anybody on that particular show mention WCW in any kind of way, and you just never heard that. So, but last night they had that segment with Dustin Rhodes, and they had with MJF, and MJF. You know, I thought he was going to say it at first, but he was telling Dustin that, you know, he's lived in his father's shadow, and then he comes back seconds later because I thought he was going to say Cody then. But then he comes back and gets in his face and says, "Now you're living in your baby brothers," and he can't finish the sentence before Dustin knocks him down. Living in his baby brother's shadow, and I just thought that was funny. I was like, wow, they couldn't miss out on bringing that up. They had to mention WWE in some fashion, some way, and you know, I thought that was pretty funny. It was pretty good. I enjoyed that part. And then the main event, you had Swerve versus Ricochet. You know, and I'm glad Ricochet. And it's kind of like my son and I were talking about. You know, Swerve was like the Carmelo Hayes of WWE, and so was Ricochet, and that was the ceiling. He wasn't going anywhere else, so it was good for him to go over there to AEW. And Swerve's been a champion, you know, something that he wouldn't have gotten in WWE. And same with Ricochet. Ricochet, you know, he's going to be more successful in AEW. It is what it is. I'm not going to throw shade on AEW. It reminds me a lot of the early WCW days, way before Hall and Nash showed up. Way before. It doesn't necessarily have that star power that they had back then, because you still had the Horsemen, you still had Flair, you still had Lex Luger. You had big Sting. I mean, they had way more star power back then. So I'm not saying they're WCW back then, because no, WCW was still up here even back then before all that. AEW is not a good product. It's got a ways to go. I'm not at all praising them. It's not terrible, but it's not great either, you know, and they've got a lot of problems. I am gonna start watching a lot more of it. I do not have HBO Max, and nor do I plan on getting it. But I can watch Dynamite on TBS, because I have that. But I won't be able to watch their Friday show unless somebody's nice enough to give me their, you know, Max information, because I'm not paying for Max. I'm just not doing it. I got too many other streaming services. I'm not doing Max 2 right now. But anyway, I'm cheap. Call me what you will. But anyway, so that was my Dynamite. Nothing else happened on that show. There was a women's segment with I can't even remember their names now. Tony Storm, and I can't remember the other girl's name. But that was I thought that was a pretty interesting segment as well. Like I said, nothing groundbreaking, nothing amazing, but I mean, compared to what the WWE is doing, watching last night showed me why WWE is not doing anything. They don't have to. They have absolutely zero competition. If that's the closest they have to competition, WWE is doing fine. They don't have to work. All they got to do is show up. They don't have to do anything. There's no competition. There's nothing out there that they have to worry about. Nobody's going to turn off WWE to watch AEW. It's just not going to happen. Again, not a terrible show, but it's not WWE. It's not. I mean, the star power of WWE. Me and my son have this argument all the time. WWE has a great roster. When these wrestlers come out and they talk about how stacked the roster is, that's not a lie. The roster is stacked. The roster's great. It's just what they're... My issue with WWE is what they're doing with it. They're not doing anything with any of their talent. And it seems like the more talented you are, the less we see you. And that's my issue with WWE. It's not anything else. It's just... I just feel like it's just underwhelming, and you can do so much more with what you have, and I just feel like they're just not putting their best foot forward, and they're not making good storylines. They're not writing good stories. And I'm going to continue to say that until I see otherwise. When I see it, I'll see it. Do I think there's potential? Yes. I said yesterday, this thing with Jey Uso may be a thing. They may be in the process, the beginning of making him a Roman Reigns type, where he's just dominant and he ends up winning that world title, and he ends up being that Roman tribal chief, you know, sort of, not the same, but different, but same, kind of having that impact. I mean, it could definitely happen. I hope it does. It's for Jay, because I'd love to see him there, man. I would. But right now, he's nothing more than a Too Cool flashback. You know? It's like Rikishi and Too Cool out in the ring doing their dance. The crowd was going crazy for that. I mean, that's what we're seeing now when he comes out. Everybody's on board. Everybody loves the yeeting and everything else. I mean, cool. But right now, that's just what he is. And until I see otherwise, that's it. Do I want more for him? Yes, because I think he is capable of doing more. Yes, give him more. Yes, but do it the right way. If he goes after Gunther at WrestleMania, I don't see anything exciting about that. We've already seen him fight Gunther I don't know how many times. I don't want to keep going back over this, but dude, that's a dead beat. Why are we beating a dead horse? Let's move on. Even if he beats Gunther, who cares? I don't care. I want him to have Roman's title, not Cody's title, Roman's title. Because Cody ain't done nothing with that title since he's had it. Nothing. Anyway, I'm not gonna go off on a rant here. I'm already 9 minutes in. All right, so let's stop it there for today. I'm gonna come back at lunch and do another one. I want to talk some more football, talk some more Super Bowl. Y'all have a wonderful Thursday. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all at lunch. I'm out.